The Galactic Academy's Emergency Protocol 7 had never been activated for a single student before. Commander Zixtal of the Vortanian High Command stood frozen in the observation deck, watching through reinforced transparisteel as chaos erupted in Xenobiology Classroom 7 Alpha. Below, 17 different species of the galaxy's most promising young minds were pressed against the far wall, their various forms of screaming, chittering, and psychic distress calls creating a cacophony that made even his battle-hardened nerves twitch. At the center of the classroom, a massive void ripper writhed and thrashed, its obsidian carapace gleaming under the emergency lighting. The creature was nearly 3 meters long, with razor-sharp appendages that could slice through durasteel, and a maw filled with teeth that seemed to bend light itself. Its piercing shrieks were known to drive lesser species to madness. And sitting cross-legged barely 2 meters away from this apex predator, completely unbothered, was the human. Sarah Chen, species classification, human designation, exchange student, Zixtal read from his datapad with disbelief. Academic standing average. Threat assessment minimal. His aide, a nervous Quillian named Pip, clicked his mandibles anxiously. Sir, shouldn't we evacuate her immediately? The Void Ripper escaped from the high-security xenobiology lab. It's already injured 3 faculty members. Zixtal was about to give the order when something unprecedented happened. The human reached into her bag. "Oh, you poor thing," Sarah said, her voice carrying that strange human quality of warmth that most species found unsettling. "You're just scared, aren't you?" The Void Ripper's shrieking intensified, but Sarah didn't even flinch. Instead, she pulled out what appeared to be some kind of processed food item wrapped in crinkly material. "I know you're probably hungry, too. Being in a lab is stressful." She unwrapped what her species called a granola bar and broke off a piece. "Here, try this. It's got nuts and berries and stuff. Probably not what you usually eat, but..." Every being in the observation deck held their breath as Sarah tossed the piece of food toward the Void Ripper. The creature's massive head tracked the morsel, caught it in its horrifying maw, and paused. The shrieking stopped. "That's it," Sarah encouraged, breaking off another piece. "See, not so bad. I bet nobody's been nice to you in a while, huh?" Professor Krentak, the hegemony's leading expert on dangerous xenofauna, burst into the observation deck. "What is the human doing? Has she lost her mind? Void Rippers are apex predators. They're driven purely by aggression and..." His words died as they all watched the Void Ripper settle. Its razor-sharp appendages folded against its body, and it lowered its massive head toward Sarah, making a sound none of them had ever heard before, a deep, rumbling vibration that seemed almost content. "Sarah Chen appears to be petting it," Pip observed unnecessarily. Indeed, the human had reached out and was gently stroking the creature's obsidian carapace, right between its sensory organs. The Void Ripper leaned into her touch, and the rumbling sound grew louder. "It's purring," Sarah announced to the room of still terrified students. "Guys, it's literally purring. Look, it just wanted some attention and food. Don't you, big guy?" She scratched behind what might have been the creature's ears, and its massive tail began to move in what could only be described as wagging. Professor Krentak's notebook fell from his nerveless claws. "Impossible. Void Rippers don't have the neural capacity for domestication. They're pure killing machines, evolved in the deepest trenches of space where only the most violent survive. They can't form emotional bonds." But the evidence was right in front of them. The creature that had terrorized half the space station was now rolling onto its back, exposing its vulnerable underside to Sarah, who laughed and began giving it what humans apparently called belly rubs. "Who's a good cosmic horror?" "You are, yes you are." The other students began to cautiously approach, their fear replaced by amazement and scientific curiosity. A young crystalline named Vex extended one of her light tendrils toward the creature. It sniffed delicately, then began purring even louder. "This is remarkable," breathed Dr. Theiss, the Academy's chief behavioral scientist. "The human has somehow activated dormant social bonding protocols in a species we classified as completely antisocial." Commander Zixtal watched as Sarah fed the Void Ripper another piece of her snack, the creature's massive head now resting contentedly in her lap. "How?" he asked. How did she know this would work? His question was answered when the human's voice drifted up through the comm system. "My roommate back home had the same problem. Big, scary looking, everyone was afraid of him. Turns out he just needed someone to be patient and show him some love. Right, Mr. Whiskers? The Void Ripper, apparently now named Mr. Whiskers, responded with an even louder purr. She named it, Pip whispered in awe. Over the following weeks, the incident became legendary throughout the Galactic Academy. Mr. Whiskers became the first Void Ripper in recorded history to be successfully domesticated, serving as both a research subject and, somehow, a therapy animal for stressed students. Sarah Chen was awarded the Academy's highest honor for interspecies relations, but what truly amazed the scientific community wasn't the taming of an apex predator. It was the revelation that humans possessed an almost supernatural ability to find the gentleness hidden within the galaxy's most fearsome creatures. They called it the human gift, the power to look at something terrifying and see not a monster but a being in need of understanding. As Professor Krentak wrote in his groundbreaking paper on the subject, perhaps the most dangerous predator in the universe isn't the one with the sharpest claws or the most toxins. Perhaps it's the one that can turn any enemy into a friend with nothing more than patience, kindness, and apparently processed grain products. Mr. Whiskers, for his part, seemed quite content with his new life, spending his days attending xenobiology classes and his evenings curled up in Sarah's dorm room, purring loud enough to vibrate the walls and occasionally helping her with her homework by pointing at correct answers with his tail. The universe, it seemed, was a much friendlier place than anyone had imagined.